Hello, hello. Welcome to our next episode of No Lids, No Limits. My name is Kin. My partner, co-host Arik, is on a road trip through various parts of Europe, from what I heard. But I've got a very special guest with me here today, my good friend Mark Huvenars. Mark, how about a little intro about yourself?
Kian, thank you so much for having me here today. Really excited for our chat. My name is Mark Kubenars. I run Railtown Media. We're a media and advertising agency based in Vancouver. We just celebrated our 7-year anniversary, so we've been at it for quite some time now. And we really had the great joy of working with manufacturing clients and even working together with Kin here over the years. So very excited to dive deep into the current state of advertising and marketing in the context of manufacturing. So thanks again for having me.
You and I have worked together for a few years now, and I've really enjoyed the time working with you because you bring such fantastic insight when it comes to things in and around digital marketing. You're just always so plugged in about the latest technology. I wanted to ask a couple of questions, if I may, you Mark, and just to tap your mind and your wisdom for our audience. In an era of where we talk a lot about AI on our podcast here, in an era where AI is churning out endless generic content, and how can a manufacturing company or brand leverage that deep vetted knowledge of its people to prove the human technical authority?
Great question. So we are in this AI revolution, and top of mind for marketers always. We talk about our target audience. Who our people are? Who are we trying to reach? Who do we want our messaging to resonate with? When it comes to AI, there is a lot of ways to leverage it for various purposes, for marketing, for other manufacturing purposes, analyzing resources and requirements. But ultimately, still, then it's still a very human process. Business is very human. So, if you ask AI to write a blog post, hey, AI, write me a blog post about this topic. If your audience can go to their AI platform of choice and do the same, you're not adding any value. So when it comes to human technical authority, especially in manufacturing, where there is a lot of institutional knowledge, there's a lot of organizational knowledge, tapping into that expertise is where there's real value. And that's what's going to resonate with people. Something that's novel, something that's unique, something that someone hasn't thought about in that way, or something that they haven't even thought about yet. So sure, AI can kind of help frame that idea to articulate it in a way that maybe makes it more clear to your audience. But you still need that human knowledge or that expertise to say, yes, this is something that is novel and unique and is going to resonate. And kind of combining the marketing piece of it, we often talk about brand voice and really kind of owning who your brand is. So when you combine human knowledge and brand voice and a little bit of AI to polish it and create really compelling content, I think that's really where the magic kind of aligns. And whether it's a blog post or a lead magnet or an ad campaign or updating website copy, writing a quote or a proposal, it all kind of comes into play where there's still that human side of it. So I think that's how it all kind of comes together in this modern AI era with all of this content that we're seeing. Still underneath it all, that human expertise and that human touch goes a long way.
Yes, yes, we definitely touch on aspects of AI versus HI, the human intelligence side of the equation. With B2B buyers evolving as this whole AI world is evolving, what is an AI trend that manufacturers that you've worked with are over investing in, and how can bad AI actually damage a buyer relationship in that case?
You and I both know it because we work in the space, but B2B buying cycles tend to be long. There tends to be multiple decision makers. Through that course of time, businesses evolve. So maintaining a really strong connection to your prospects and to your customers, your audience, is more important than ever. In terms of the bad, I'm going to steal an example from the consumer side. I would say in B2B, we often leverage learnings from the consumer side. Consumer marketing tends to be faster paced, so they tend to do things faster than we would in the B2B realm. So we leverage a lot of expertise there. One thing that frustrates me and is the customer service experience now. When I go to a website and I need a little bit of support, or I'm running an ad campaign and Meta isn't quite cooperating and I need to reach out to their support team, when I get that generic AI generated response to a question and a query that's quite specific, and they're like, hey, have you checked out our knowledge articles yet? We're like, yes, I did check out those knowledge articles. Thank you. And then I say, oh, no, like I might need a human. They're like, oh, did you check out these knowledge articles yet? And it's the same list they just shared. Like, no, no, like I need a human. And then they do it a third time. Like, I think I need to start over. I'm like, just human, human, please, human help. By the time I get to a human, I'm quite frustrated and infuriated. That's not the experience that you want in the consumer space, but especially for B2B buyers, automating things too much that should have a bit of a personal touch to them. If they haven't been carefully vetted by humans or by applying a human lens to the AI responses, really creates quite a negative experience. Say B2B, when there's a long sales cycle, those relationships, those connections, the message is so critical and so important to maintaining that relationship. That's kind of my take on, one of the traps that I would see B2B manufacturing and marketing falling into is maybe relying a bit too much on AI. I know for me personally, Kian, how many emails did you get here today? How many LinkedIn messages did you get just today from a sales for a sales opportunity? I know for me, it's countless.
Yes, for sure. I think in a typical day, I probably delete at least over 100 various emails from various different sources. Some of those probably are from humans, but I would imagine a lot of them are AI generated now. So the degree of just that, the garbage dump, of spam emails is definitely proliferating because, of course, for a lot of companies, it's just easier now to generate those emails, thinking that that's what gains more sales or more customers. But when in fact it probably has a very negative effect, as you probably agree. Beyond the types of tools that we might use to help as an advertiser or as somebody going out to look for business to drive for more buyer engagement, what is perhaps some of the tactics that manufacturers should really keep in mind? Like there's this nice sweet balance, I think, of that somebody's going to pick up the phone or actually make a call to talk to somebody to hopefully build that relationship and drive the sale. What aspect of this can you perhaps offer as an insight to manufacturers to have them really engage their prospect and nurture them into an actual customer?
Yeah, really great question. And I think that's the magic of marketing right now is understanding your customer. Where are they at? What are they saying? So just having an active presence. For us in our portfolio, we often like to recommend LinkedIn because that's where buyers are. It's a professional network. To have a voice on LinkedIn, to kind of have that feedback loop. Even though, don't get me wrong, probably a lot of what we see and digest on LinkedIn right now has been AI assisted writing. I know that hook opening line and then some paragraphs and some sentences underneath and that closing call to action. It all kind of sounds quite the same on LinkedIn. And of course, LinkedIn serves up that content that they expect that you want to see because you engaged with previous content like that before. So it kind of reinforces that loop of that same content. But ultimately, cutting through that noise is still like a platform that has genuine human voices interacting, communicating, even if it's a like or a comment, really kind of helps to inform what the broader sentiment is for your audience. And that can be through you interacting as an individual or potentially through, say, a company LinkedIn page, even advertising. We see comments coming through on ads. Ads, very scalable. You can get a lot of data and a lot of insight and a lot of interactions depending on your bid approach and your creative. And that can kind of help reinforce the human side of it all and just really kind of have your finger of the pulse of what your audience and prospects are saying. So I think that's a really great question. And it is just engaging, being aware, having a bit of the feedback loop and having some data points that you rely on to really kind of inform what your audience is saying and how they're saying it and how you can go about interacting or being a part of that conversation.
Yeah, I really like your point about interaction. I think one of the rules I set for myself is even though it is so tempting to just have AI do most of the hard work, I would never publish or release anything that I wouldn't say myself if I were to sit down and actually type it out. So I do profess that I use AI almost every day now. That's in some capacity, whether it's drafting an email, coming up with doing a report, or even creating a slide deck for a presentation, or making a LinkedIn post. And I do leverage AI because it is very good at coming up with some very creative words that I may or may not come up with. But then every one of those drafts goes past me before it actually gets posted. So to make sure that I keep my own tone of voice, my style, and you know what? I think still right now, as good as AI is, it's probably about 80 to 90% perfect for me. So for the last 10 or 20%, it's always the kin's touch, the kin's correction, mistakes and all, to include some of that to make the message seem a little bit more human. So Mark, many manufacturers today, end up in this having data trapped in a CRM or ERP system. How can digital marketing report and the AI-driven data analysis to bridge these silos to offer the organizational insights that people are looking for?
Yeah, we're pretty big on data at Railtown here, as you know. So this is a topic that we hold dear to our heart. Good data means that we can run better ads, which means that our clients can succeed, and all the magic happens when the data is sound. And I would say that's more true in today's world. There's been rapid evolutions in the ad platforms, Meta, Google. There's been rapid evolutions in the data platforms that we use, like Google Analytics, and even just in everyday platforms. Or if you're using a CRM, like HubSpot, for example, or really any sort of marketing tool now, they've all got the AI features, the AI button to help me write this email with AI, to analyze this data with AI. Google Analytics has data points at the top of the page now that suggest insights. But in order to facilitate that, you actually need the data infrastructure to do so. If you haven't installed Google Analytics or you're still using Universal Analytics, which was retired now 3 years ago, that's not going to work for you anymore. So the foundational data infrastructure is still pretty key. You can ask Gemini or ChatGPT, hey, how do I maintain my marketing? How do I set up my marketing data infrastructure? They might guide you through the steps, and they'll guide you through the steps in a way that will probably get you most of the way there. But if you don't really have the confidence in your data, then it's hard to rely on it and it's hard to scale up. And whether it's advertising, organic content efforts, and if you don't know what works and what doesn't, it's hard to continue to invest money into marketing. And marketing is a cost center. It's, sales realizes the revenue. Marketing, we invest the money to get those leads, and then it takes some time for us to figure out whether or not they were good leads. Kind of a convoluted response to your question there, but I'd say first and foremost, get that data infrastructure locked down. Once that data infrastructure is locked down, a lot more can flow from there. You can then use AI to analyze trends that maybe a human doesn't see looking at a spreadsheet. These AI, the advertising platforms like Google Ads and Meta, they rely now on actual conversion data, actual lead data to feed back into their system to drive successful campaigns. So if you're not driving that back in, you're not going to get the best outcomes that you can for that marketing investment. So data is pretty paramount these days, and it always has been, but it will be increasingly so. And I think even to kind of get into that visionary idea of like, do we turn over our organization to AI to act as a CEO to make those big high level strategic decisions? There's probably going to be a case for that too in the not so far future. Still, at the end of the day, you're going to need the data foundation to and feed the system so it can help make those decisions.
My experience working with my team is I always run around telling people that paper is where data goes to die. And the moment you have the data on a piece of paper, it's as good as dead data. So the first step, of course, is digitizing that data and making sure it's in some digital format where, without being on digital, the AI just doesn't know how to reach it. At least not yet, I don't think, until AI can run around and rummage through our paper files. But I mean, the other part that I think is very important is that the data, there's some teams that think that we have to have perfectly clean data for AI to be trained off of it. And I actually argue that you just need to start with something, because the idea of driving for perfection is a bit of a fallacy, and you end up being more in a paralysis mode than making any progress. Start with whatever it is and ask the AI to try something. I think part of using AI, which I found very, very helpful, is AI allows you to fail faster. Just trying it, get a simulation, get the AI to draw some insight, and then you bring your team together and say, hey, does this sound right? Does this sound like a good strategy? Is this the outcome we expect that supports our hypothesis? And if it's not, then tweak the data and try again. I mean, that's the whole point, which is why AI is so beautiful, is this because it gives you that result so quickly. Is that something that you find working with some of your clients and on your projects, Mark?
Yeah, I think that's a really great point, Ken. You don't need to have perfect data by any means. And a lot of the platforms that you would use to collect that data, there's going to be some standards there already. But we often encounter it. It might be a client that's been around for 30 years. Like, hey, do you have any historical marketing reports, anything that we can kind of look at to get some insights? Like, no. Like, oh, like anything's better than nothing. So I do think it's fair to say yes. Like just start with some preliminary data. It can be like I say as simple as installing some Google Analytics tracking code on your website. So you start to collect that data in the background, even if you don't feel like you have the capacity or resources to analyze it with great granularity. Just as a starting point, start collecting it. Yes, once a year, have a meeting with your team to say, hey, let's look at some of our historical data and see what's up and run it through AI because AI is going to be standardized a bit then too because the data inputs are a bit standardized when it comes to marketing data. Not always, there's nuances to it and leads and lead flow and the sales cycle is going to vary from company to company. But for marketing, those KPIs, those foundational metrics, new users to your website, sessions, how many people have came to visit are pretty standard and help kind of set a baseline for setting goals and then for managing a marketing budget. It's hard to set a marketing budget if you don't really know what the impact might be.
Mm.
All those pieces do kind of come together. As much as it's about AI, ignoring the AI piece of this all, a little bit of investment in data really does go a long way, long term in the context of marketing.
Sure, sure. When building a digital marketing engine today, Mark, do manufacturers need traditional brand strategists or do they need an AI workflow architect? How do you balance the two?
Yeah, really great question. And I think one that's top of mind for marketers and other roles too. How much is the future going to be by AI experts doing AI things? And how much of it is going to be, conventional knowledge and expertise using AI tools to kind of dictate what flows from there? Um, AI is an incredible, a tactical tool right now, but without kind of a general digital marketing strategy that's cohesive and makes sense and understands some of the nuances of the goals and of the organization and of resources, it can lead to scaling chaos if it's not well thought out and there's not a cohesive strategy behind it. It's very easy to do a lot of really bad work with AI very quickly to leave a sour taste in your customers, your prospects' mouths because they got one too many automated emails at the time zone that for them was 4 o'clock in the morning. And that doesn't really work. So I would say, yes, there is still very much so the need for, strategists for brand voice, for knowing what's going to resonate with your audience, for taking that human interpretation of what's working and what's not and advancing it. But AI amplifies it. For example, with ads, a lot of the ad platforms have moved to flexible or responsive ad creative, where you as a human can input 5 different headlines, 5 different ad texts, 5 different images and or videos. And then your Meta, LinkedIn, please mix and match. Tell me what works best. That's kind of the a bridge of AI and human ingenuity coming together. And ultimately, we're looking for clients for manufacturing generally, and AI is just going to kind of work its magic to see what happens. No, this is like, hey, we have a goal and we have a vision in mind and we have a brand voice that we know resonates with our customers and prospects. And we're going to kind of own that for a long enough time to get through the full deal process. That has a lot more impact and a lot more lasting value. And it kind of mitigates the accelerated disaster and chaos that can happen if you rely on AI too much to run your marketing. So I think the modern marketer, the modern business, it is a hybrid and it might be someone with more of a technological AI lens that then gets a bit more knowledge about marketing or uses the data that's now available to better the AI, to better the marketing outcomes. Or likely more in the foreseeable future, and not just in marketing, but in other industries as well. It's going to be someone with that foundational expertise in marketing and B2B marketing that's using AI then to advance marketing goals and objectives for organizations. So a bit of a hybrid, but I think we're moving towards expertise is the foundation first and foremost with AI
Sure.
coming on.
A lot of the work that we've done in the past, Mark, with Angelia and the team, I remember deep lesson in building emotion and empathy into a marketing message. And are our AI tools today at that level where it starts to understand human empathy or human emotions?
Great question. I think it depends on the day and the AI, which model you're using. I would say sometimes like, oh, AI really understands what I'm trying to accomplish and it has a very human lens to it. And I think Angelia is a great to bring up Angelia at Pivot Point Marketing there. The human angle of marketing is very much so where she's found her focus far before AI was as prolific as it is today. So that human side, the empathy, I think AI will get better at interpreting empathy in the context of marketing and how to connect with people. But I think we're still a really long way at fully bridging the world of AI with real human empathy and understanding in marketing. I think AI can put on a good face, it can say the right things, but it doesn't have the humanity yet that that real people have.
I would definitely agree with you on that because of the amount of AI tools I've used so far. I find that AI is very good at regurgitating a lot of words and facts. So it's not much beyond a Google search. You know, you type in the keyword, searching for whatever, Google comes back with the relevant results. Google doesn't understand the emotions behind those words, and I don't think AI quite yet understands. Some of the prompts I'm able to build, this sits on emotions, such as I remember trying to draft an email and I specifically said, you know, make this sound a little bit sad in a way to elicit an emotion of sadness in there. And the AI response came back with a draft that was clearly had, you know, some hints of sorrow and sadness in the way that they chose the words. But I think in general, AI is quite agnostic when it comes to human emotions or psychology at this point, and we have to be careful when we use AI tools in marketing, exactly because then you start to really lose that human emotional connection. That you know, Angelia talks a lot about the people marketing, and in the last episode, and I'm very big on that because I do believe that marketing is really about the human making human connections, which is what builds awareness in the brand and the company and the team. I think that's very important today. So, Mark, as a last question, what would be some of your top favorite AI tools that you will use today?
Fun question. I'm going to admit it. I'm going to throw it out there, but ChatGPT used it almost right out of the gate. I'm like, started to use it. I thought this was fantastic. And I was a long time subscriber. But as of January of this year, then I shifted gears to Gemini. Gemini is baked into the Google Workspace ecosystem, and we use Google Workspace at Railtown. And so it's hard to justify paying $30 Canadian a month for ChatGPT when Gemini got to a place where it was the same, or in often cases better than ChatGPT was. So right now we're pretty focused on Gemini. What I did really appreciate about ChatGPT, and I'm still missing, is Sora and Dolly, the video generator and the image generator. Gemini does do videos, but you're limited to very few a day, and they do images too. But for me, Dolly, Sora had a bit more heart to their images, getting back to that human component and that human side of it. But yeah, day to day, then relying on Gemini. They recently launched an integration with HubSpot, so you can tie in some CRM data. You can tap into Google Drive and any of the files that you have there and automatically add them. Some of the more robust add-ons like Notebook LLM and some of the other AI tools and AI Studio in Google's ecosystem are pretty compelling. My challenge now is hitting those limits. I used Pro too much earlier. It was last week, and it was quite disruptive to my workflow. I do rely on Gemini, maybe too much then. But yeah, no, Gemini is the front and center for me today, but also pretty platform agnostic. So if something better comes along, then pretty easy to minimum explore other solutions or other platforms too.
I too started early days with ChatGPT and then migrated, never turned back from Gemini. But lately in the
Yeah.
company, we've been testing out Claude and some of the agentic capabilities of it. Do you think you know, the agentic AI is kind of that next big thing in our AI futures, Mark?
Yeah, great question. Agentic AI is, we've been talking about the future of AI already. Agentic even then has been a pretty hot topic of conversation for I would say a year or more. Anyone who's really worked in AI, they're like, agentic AI, like that's the vision. That's where we go from here. That's where the real unlock is. So remember last year I was at Web Summit and went to one of the evening sessions, and someone at this evening session, they were building a new software solution and they had built it and they were getting some traction. But what they had realized for their particular solution is that a lot of the decision making is actually happening by agents or by technology platforms evaluating their offer and then deciding whether or not to make the decision. So that was quite a big revelation for me already, and that was then a little while ago it seems, where the agentic AI is happening. Yes, giving control of your computer to Claude or to ChatGPT to let it do its thing. Like where it's happening, it's here. For manufacturers, then yes, will you have an automated quotation agent that's going to go and fill out all the contact forms on websites with your quotes, with your quote list? I'm sure it's happening already. So the long and short of it is, I do think agentic is what comes next. Some of the bigger conversations around agentic is if an agentic agent submits a quote and they mistype, $100, we're willing to pay $100 per part rather than $10. And your agentic agent receives that and says, "Oh yes, like absolutely, we approve this. Yes, we'll charge you $100 instead of probably what you meant was 10. Yes, we'll send you that automated contract to get the ball rolling on that." There are some risks to the agentic side of things, especially for complex deals, that I think will come to light more as we navigate down that path. But do absolutely think it's coming, and is already to an extent here. Um, so it's agentic. It's exciting. It is where it's at. For marketers, we do need to now cater to these agents that will be making decisions on behalf of people. Manufacturers understanding some of those nuances of how an agentic AI may interact to achieve an outcome. Yeah, it's a big deal, and it is. I think it is coming next, and I don't think we're so far off from basic agentic doing a lot of kind of the day to day that we all experience, whether it's manufacturing, marketing, or beyond.
Wow, that's very exciting for us as well. Definitely working towards the whole agentic AI testing. So, Mark, thank you very much. We're coming to the end of our episode. I really appreciate the conversation and the fantastic insight that you provided on around digital marketing and some of the questions that we threw at you. If people wanted to connect with you, Mark, would they be able to reach you through your website or LinkedIn?
Yeah, thanks so much, Ken, for the shout out there. Please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Mark Hubinar is there on LinkedIn, or visit us at railtabmedia.com. Feel free to fill out the contact form there if you'd like to get in touch. But Ken, thank you so much for the time today. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the clever questions and for driving the conversation and making it happen. So really appreciate it.
All right, and I'll make sure to link your contact information on our posts in the show notes. In the meantime, for anyone out in the audience who wants to drop a question in the comments to ask Mark, I'll make sure I'll pass it on to him. You can always find him on LinkedIn, as he said, and at the Real-Time Media website, which I'll tag. And if you have any questions on any other topics that you want to hear about, please let us know through our various platforms. We always appreciate any feedbacks. Until next time, thank you very much. And thank you very much, Mark, for taking your time to speak to me today.
Thank you, Ken. Take care.
Take care. Bye.